So go ahead and take the leap of faith. So in the next session that we have now, we have a very, very experienced Toastmaster, very venerated, respected, and I am in awe of him. And I'm not making this up. He has been a Toastmaster since 2015-16. He has been a district level evaluation table topic champion. He mentors so many people, directly and indirectly. I mean, there are points when I try and walk like him when I'm in physical meeting. And by looking at him, you'll understand the reason why we call him the Amitabh Bachchan of this geography. So ladies and gentlemen, with a big round of applause, please welcome the most distinguished gentleman in Toastmasters, Toastmaster Rajat Tripu. So,
thank you, Rohan, for that very glowing introduction. You really made my day today. So, welcome everybody to today's session, which is focused on impromptu speaking. But before I start, let me just ask you guys, how many of you have learned swimming as a child? Yeah, you just raise your hands on the virtual screen. Has it happened that your parents dragged you down to the swimming pool, put you in charge of a trainer and said, you better learn swimming? Okay. Some of you may have learned on your own also. But you know, when you are on the edge of that pool and your friends are frolicking in the water, yet you don't know how to swim, I'm sure you feel that moment of trepidation. You don't know to get in and risk that being out of breath and not doing well there like your friends, and you resist your utmost getting in, then your trainer drags you to you and somehow you go through that process. Now, I found in a very broad sense, learning public speaking is a bit like that it is something which doesn't come to us naturally. It's something we have to learn. Unlike animals, humans are not natural swimmers. So although we talk from the time we are maybe 1 year old, we don't really speak in the sense of speaking coherently and for a period of time. It's a skill which has to be learned. The Toastmasters is about public speaking. So here we learn prepared speech as well as impromptu speaking. But I feel the impromptu speaking is a skill which, if we learn properly, holds us in good stead. And there are two reasons for that. One is that an impromptu speaker has to be much more on the ball, right? So in a prepared speech, you have some time to prepare. In impromptu, you get a few seconds. And in real life also, you'll probably get that sort of a lead time to give an opinion. It's very rarely you'll be given, 5 days to come back and talk on a particular topic. It'll mostly be your friend asking you for your opinion, your boss asking you for your opinion, your interviewer asking you for an opinion. And to be able to give that opinion in an interesting and coherent manner is really the skill that you'd like to develop. Now, in impromptu speaking or table topics, even when I started the journey, I faced basically 3 challenges. So let me show what they were to you. Is my screen visible? Yes. So even when I started speaking impromptu, the first challenge which I faced was how to start speaking. Just as, if you were standing at the edge of the pool, you'll not know how to start swimming. So how to start speaking. Second was how to continue speaking, even if you've started. Mostly we run out of steam. We don't know what to say after the first couple of sentences. So how to continue and give some substance to our impromptu speaking. And lastly, how to wrap it up once either we are out of time or out of ideas. In either case, how to wrap up this whole thing so that it's a speech, right? So if you're able to address this in an impromptu speech, I think we will reach somewhere. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you about the basic technique of impromptu speaking. That is, how to proceed on a speech and give it properly. So the basic technique in an impromptu speech has 5 aspects. The first aspect is to listen. That is even before you start speaking, because somebody is telling us the topic. So we have to listen. I'll elaborate what we mean there. And second is, we usually give an opening statement to the speech. Just like a prepared speech, we give an opening statement. That what is it that we are going to talk about. Second is, we expand on that opening stand a little, and this is more based on reason. So if the subject is about a particular topic, so we expand on the topic a little. Then we give an illustration to make it clear to the audience, make them relate to what is the reason that you're giving through some illustration, and finally we close. And if you're talking about these 5 components, let's just take them one by one and see what is it that we can do to make them effective. First is, in a table topic, when we are listening, there are 2 things to do. This is very, very important, because on this, the rest of the speech will stand. So in any topic, there are some key words. For example, say the topic is honesty is the best policy. That's a topic given to you to speak on. It could have been a topic which is not a debate topic or a proverb also, which I'll come to later. But most of the table topics are either a proverb or a saying, or maybe matter of debate, like electric cars are better, so you have to give an opinion. In either case, we need to pick out the keywords. Like in the case of honesty is the best policy, the terms honesty and policy become the keywords of the topic. And also best, for that matter, because they mean different things to different people. And you have to give an interpretation of what it means to you. And second is, that topic will have a theme. Like to me, when I hear this topic, it's about ... So to me, it's about integrity. Integrity, honesty is the best policy, the theme is integrity. So why is coming to these words important? Because they give us the ammunition to start the swim. Yeah. So once having listened to the topic and maybe waited for 5 to 7 seconds for these words to come to you, then we need to open. Now, if it's a topic which needs an opinion, even in a topic like this, honesty is the best policy, we can take a stand. We can take a very simple stand and say, honesty is the best policy. And I do agree. That's a simple way to, most simple way to start off your speech. Take a stand, tell the topic and tell the stand. Simplest way. If you want to be a little more sophisticated, we will use the keywords here. Instead of saying honesty is the best policy, we may end up saying, to me, honesty, when I heard the word, it also came to me like, okay, honesty is like telling the truth, and best policy. Policy in this case may mean, developing a trust. So to my mind, honesty and policy came out as truth and trust. So we have to look at our own minds, what it means to you. So here, when we are opening, I might also say, instead of saying honesty is the best policy, I can say, truth leads to trust, and I do agree. So that opening is a little more sophisticated than just telling the topic itself. We are paraphrasing and saying. You want to go one step further? Put the theme there also. See, integrity is an integral part of life. And I believe telling the truth always leads to trust. So here you have not mentioned the topic, but you have talked about what it means in a single word theme. You have given some paraphrases of the keywords, and you have told whether you agree or not. So once you have this practice of thinking out those words while you're listening to the topic, and in the 5 to 7 seconds that follow, you're able to frame that opening sentence very beautiful. Simplest way, repeat the topic and say, I agree. More sophisticated way is to tell the theme, tell your paraphrased words, and say, I agree. So now we have done the opening. Now we need to expand a little, right? Because you have said, telling the truth, you have said trust. What does it mean exactly? So you can expand a little on that. So you can say that, telling the truth may be as simple as reporting what has happened accurately, or it can be a little more complicated than sharing what your innermost feelings are, right? That is also telling the truth. So when we do these things, when we tell the truth about the world around us and about ourselves, that leads to other people trusting us more. And why does that happen? Because when people feel that you're authentic, they trust your opinion. And when people feel that you have integrity, that you repeat what you say again and again, that you always do what you believe in, they develop trust in you. And they will give you more and more responsibility, which is good in life. So you're basically expanding on the words of trust and telling the truth, both of them. Some expansion, whatever comes to your mind. Now, I had time to think about it, so maybe I'm doing a better job of it. But if you're right there in front of the stage, at least some expansion is possible. Now, here, you have to trust your mind a little that what you're thinking is right. Otherwise, normally what happens at this stage, we develop a lot of doubt as to why I'm thinking. Is it the right thing? Or should I say something different? How will the audience take it? How will the judge take it? There's no need to doubt. Whatever you think is right for you, because only with that you can speak with some authenticity, right? If you're trying to take a stand which you don't believe in, believe me, it may be gimmicky. It may impress the audience that you're saying honesty is not the best policy. But if it is not something you believe in, ultimately it's difficult for you to carry it through. So my advice always is to the usual speakers that go with the topic in whatever way it comes to you. Most of the proverbs are so well established and so moral. Usually you won't feel like going against it. Don't go against it. Be different in what reasoning you give, what examples you give later, but perhaps the stand can be an agreeable stand itself. So now that we have taken an opening and done the expansion, right? Give reason supporting the stand. It is important to give some illustration because for the audience to relate to your reasoning is not so easy. We are having some string of thoughts in our hand which we are trying to express, and sometimes we don't do a very good job of it. But as soon as we come to an illustration, we think of something which has happened in our life and we talk about it, then the audience really connects. It connects with your reasoning on the one hand, and he also connects emotionally with you on the other. For example, in this particular case, if you went on to say, let me give you an example from my own life. When I was a child, and you give an instance where you may have told an untruth to your father to avoid punishment, and then you got found out and your father was a little upset with you, and he explained to you why it is important. So when you give that example, it connects to the audience. What is it that you were trying to say when you said that telling the truth leads to trust? And it could be a true example, of course. I'm sure in everybody's life, there are some examples which will come to your mind. Even if it doesn't, you may pull some friend's example and tell it as your example, just to give that emotional connect. It is also useful, if you can, to pull out a public example. Like in this particular case, as soon as I heard the topic, Gandhi also came to my mind because he was a champion of truth. And apart from giving your personal example, you can say there are so many public figures who have depended on personal integrity to develop trust with the masses. And Gandhi is an example. In fact, his autobiography, My Experiments with Truth, was all about his being transparent about whatever his motives were. And all followers around him really trusted him for it. So that's a public example, and people connect because they know what Gandhi was about, they know what value he stood for, and what is the value you're talking about is the same. So they understand the value. So when you're illustrating, give examples and stories. This, if it's a personal example, gives a connect emotionally. If it's a public example, it helps the audience to connect rationally to the concept that you're trying to say, right? And finally, of course, once you've given these things, you have to come to a proper closure of your speech. If it was a table topic speech that you're giving, probably your red light is about to come on or it has already come on. So you have to wrap it up. Usually, I suggest that you make it a personal message to the audience. Like you repeat the paraphrase once again. So my friends, I do believe that telling the truth leads to trust. And I urge all of you, like that you give a sentence. And I urge all of you, even if you're faced with a challenging situation, stick to the truth, because in the long run, trust is what will stand good for you in your life. So that makes it a message. You have converted the topic to a message, and that remains in the mind of the audience as a speech that was worth listening to. Audience all the time is asking, at every stage he's asking, why am I listening to this? There are two reasons an audience listens to your speech rapidly. One is the reasoning appeals to him and the emotions appeal to them, they connect. And the second is you are giving a personal direct message to the audience which they feel obliged to accept and follow. These are the two reasons when an audience at the end of your speech will feel, that was a good speech. I'm glad I listened to it, right? So I give you an example with a proverb type of a topic. Honesty is the best policy. It can be a simpler topic as well, like if it's an experience type. Suppose the topic was, what is your favorite flavor, vanilla or chocolate? We're talking about ice creams. So there are topics given like that also in the clubs. So here, basically, there's no debate. You're giving a personal experience, right, to the audience. So how do we do that? How do we make it interesting? Here also, you catch the keywords. There's vanilla, there's chocolate, and of course, what is the theme here? The theme is flavors, right? Variety, flavors, that's the theme. So in an opening, you can make any level of opening. You can say, oh my God, vanilla and chocolate, both are my favorite flavors. Now, which do I prefer? I think I prefer chocolate. That's a simpler opening. If you want to go one level higher, then you might say, my God, when we talk of flavors, without flavors, what is food? And in ice cream, the flavors are the main thing, right? Between the two, I think I prefer chocolate. If you want to go to the theme and you want to mention the word variety, you start by saying variety is the spice of life, right? And without flavors, what's the variety in food? When it comes to ice creams, but I do prefer chocolate. So these are three levels of even personal experience where you can build in keywords and theme to make the opening more interesting. When you're expanding, of course, in a topic like this, you don't expand by reason. You can straight away give examples and relate a couple of incidents from your life, child, as an adult, how flavors, affected you. Like you could say, when I was a child, I'd go with my sister and father to have ice cream, and the only ice cream available was anyway vanilla. So there was no choice. We'll cut them into the small slices and make them last as long as we could. But when I went to college, I was faced with that gourd of ice cream shops, that is Baskin's, which is 31 flavors. And that's when, after experimenting with all of them, I decided that dark and mysterious chocolate is the one for me. So you're giving two stories from your own life, which bring forth your involvement with the flavors. Now, the first one was a real story. Actually, the second one, I made it up. I never stood in front of Baskin Robbins in the college, but give that story as a story. It makes it interesting to the audience to hear it that way, right? So in this type of topic, there is not much of reason involved. You can get into reason, but it'll make it heavy. That after this, you might say that, as I said earlier, variety is the spice of life. There's variety in everything. There's variety in people. They come in different flavors. Places come in different flavors. In any situation of life, food or not, let us enjoy our flavors, right? And you close with that itself and say, yeah, flavors give the variety in life. So I appeal to you, my friends, don't reject tasting every flavor that you come across, because that is what is going to enable you to taste life to its fullest. So you've given a message, even in a personal experience speech, right? That makes it slightly different. So even if it's an experiential speech like this, listen to the keywords, think of the theme of the keywords. Describe your first day in school, could be a topic. You keep the theme as education in your mind, somewhere you're going to bring it in, yeah? You can see in any journey that we take in life, even if it be of education, the first step, the first day in school matters a lot. Nice opening, isn't it? Because you brought in the theme of this particular very mundane topic that has been given to you. That is your value addition to the speech. And here also you talk about your first day in school, give a couple of instances where you liked it, where you didn't like it. You go on to say, maybe when you go back to your question on education, and say the first step is very important, especially in education. So now we are no longer children, we are parents, and we are sometimes teachers. It's our duty to ensure that the first day of children in school is enjoyable and lively. So if you, my friends, are in a position to ensure that, please do. Right? So that's a ending message for a very, very personal experiential speech. So when you take it up a notch like that, your speech will stand out, will have some meaning to the audience. So these were the two examples I gave you, and the structure which is there basically for you to follow when you're getting into the speech. Listen well, open, expand on the logic, illustrate, give some example, and give a closing with a powerful message. Now, let me talk to you about what will help you to do this. You know now the book technique. If we talk in swimming terms, you have seen other people swimming, you have read a book on swimming, you have listened to me talking about swimming or some other trainer. That still doesn't give you the swimming practice. So how do you practice swimming well? That is my effort at drawing a swimmer in PowerPoint, okay, from the top. So now this swimmer needs 4 things for him to do. In one hand, he has to take courage. Please enter the water. Please start speaking. There is no other way to learn swimming and to learn speaking except by speaking, right? You cannot do it by watching other people speak. Impossible. So take courage in your hands and start speaking. Second, in the other hand, trust your mind. Don't doubt it. Don't doubt the thoughts that come, that this is not the right thought. I should say something else. You're wasting time and you are building distrust in your own mind on your own power of thinking. Don't do that. Whatever keywords come to your mind, whatever theme comes to your mind, whatever stand comes to your mind, go with it. Trust your mind. Third, there's no substitute for hard work. Even in swimming, you have to practice and practice and practice to perfect that stroke, to perfect that breath, right? The more you do it, the more easily it comes to you. It is same in speaking. Take every opportunity to speak on table topics. Raise your hand as soon as there's a volunteer call. Do that hard work, and I promise you, after you've given 20 table topic speeches, you'll find you've gone from 0 to 4. Going from 4 to 5 needs much more effort. 0 to 4, you can go just through these 3. Now, let me give you a final hint on what's something you will not associate with table topics, which is homework. Now, obviously, in a prepared speech, there's a lot of homework to be done, right? You have to preparing for the speech, memorizing it. What do you do in table topics? I will give you a hint. You know, good table topic speakers who speak regularly, they do homework on examples and stories. Now, you don't have to do it now when you're starting to learn how to speaking. We have enough things in our mind to pull them out and talk about them. But if you want to be easy at that stage of giving examples, there is a thing that we can do as homework is think of those themes. Think of those themes that can keep coming up on table topics. Like I said, variety, integrity, challenge, failure, yeah, love, generosity. All these are value-based themes which keep coming up in table topics. And in your mind, you keep some examples ready, thought out, that if it's something on integrity, my personal example of this might work. But this example that I have can work for integrity, for love, for challenge, and for fairness. That is a homework experienced table topic speakers do. You can do that when you're starting your journey, or you can do it a little later. But at some point of time, if you do this, if you're aware of some examples which can be given, private and public examples, when you come to that stage, as soon as you're talking about the reasoning, the example will come to your mind. You know which example is appropriate. And you won't be fumbling when giving that example. That's the only game when it comes to doing that homework. Many people come and tell me later, I kept talking and talking about trust, but I didn't know what example to give. The reason why you didn't know is because you had not thought about it earlier. If you do think about it earlier a bit and keep maybe some 15, 20 themes which are there, 15, 20 examples of it, you will be an expert table topic speaker, right? Examples will come to you just like that. I know one table topic speaker, he is an expert in cricket. Whatever topic you give him, that cricket example, some example or the other from the cricketing world will come to him. And he's got a fantastic data bank and he can relate anything to a cricketing incident. And that has stood him in good stead in many, many championships. I'm sure a lot of us know who we're talking about. And that sort of a homework is very useful to do if you can manage to do it. So my friends, keep the basic technique in mind of listening, opening, expanding, illustrating, and closing. And if you take care of putting this effort, of taking courage in your own hands, trusting your mind, doing the hard work of giving speeches, and doing the homework of thinking of examples, I am sure you are going to be the Michael Phelps of the table topic world. So dive right in. That's it from my side. Thank you so much for listening.